I want to ask you a simple question. How long has it been since you sat quietly with yourself? No phone, no TV, no one calling your name from the next room. Just you, a pen, and a blank sheet of paper. At the age of 65 and above, we have gone through many ups and downs, from raising children to retirement, from loss to finding meaning. And sometimes, in these quiet years, what our souls need most is not a luxurious trip, but just an honest conversation with ourselves. Writing a diary, which seems like a small habit, is an extremely powerful mental therapy, especially for us, those who are living in the most mature years of our lives. Did you know that just spending 10 minutes a day writing down what you think, what you remember, what you feel, can significantly improve your mental health, enhance your memory, and reduce the risk of depression in the elderly? This is not just empty talk. Research from the University of Texas has shown that older adults who keep a journal tend to feel less lonely, sleep better, and even feel more positive about life. Let me tell you the story of Harry, a 72-year-old man living in Vermont. After his wife died, he lived alone and had very little contact with anyone. His children and grandchildren lived far away, and his friends were few and far between. One day, his daughter sent him a small notebook with a few pens and a small piece of paper. It said, "Dad, try writing. Write whatever comes to your mind." At first, he refused to write, thinking it was silly. But then one winter evening, when the snow was falling quietly outside the window and the house was so quiet that he could hear the clock ticking in his heart, he opened the notebook and began to write, "It's cold today. Watching the snowfall makes me feel sad. I miss her so much." The writing was short and awkward. But from that day on, he started writing regularly every night. 2 months later, he realized that he was less sad. His mind was also clearer and more flexible. He started writing letters to his grandson, and then to an old friend he had lost contact with. I tell that story not to make you emotional, but to show you one thing: writing a diary is not just a way to save memories, but a way for us to meet ourselves again, in the most honest and gentle way. So specifically, what is the first thing that happens when you start writing a diary? I call it the unloading, a gentle but profound process. When you write something down, whether it is sadness, joy, a memory, or simply what you ate today, you are unloading a part of your burden from your mind. We don't always have someone to listen, but the page is always with you. It is always there, without judgment, without interruption. You can write that you miss someone who has passed away, that you regret a past decision, or even that you feel lonely during the long days. Writing it down is allowing those feelings to have a place, to be acknowledged, and then gently go away. Psychologists call this emotional ventilation. Journaling is like a gentle wind that penetrates your emotions, taking away the worries in your mind. I once had a conversation with a 68-year-old woman named Susan who lives in Ohio. She said that every time she was upset because her son did not understand her, she would often walk around the block, but the feeling of anger did not decrease. One day, she tried sitting down and writing a letter to her own son. She did not send it, just to write down everything she felt. The result was surprising. She calmed down, saw things more clearly. A few weeks later, she wrote another letter. This time she sent it. The content was short, gentle, but sincere. And her son responded with words she thought she would never hear. "Mom, I'm sorry. I don't understand how much you hurt me. Thank you for telling me." You see, sometimes journaling is a way to prepare for real conversations, with others and with yourself. Following that, there is another profound spiritual effect that journaling brings, but few people expect: the ability to organize and look back on life more clearly. At this age, we have lived long enough to have many memories, good ones, sad ones, and unfinished ones. But memories, if not organized, can lead us astray. There are times when memories automatically flood back without us actively remembering them. The year our child was in kindergarten, or that summer afternoon when the wind was strong, the rain was heavy, and trees fell on both sides of the road. The scattered memories, appearing with constant frequency, will always make us vague. But when written down line by line, paragraph by paragraph, it is the time when you are rearranging the emotional archive in your own soul. This is when a diary is not only a place to vent, but also a place to store and restructure memories. It helps you look back at the past, realize how much you have overcome, how mature and strong you have become. Especially in times of gloomy mood, reading old diary pages can be a reminder that you have been happy, overcome, and resilient. A study by the University of California showed that seniors who wrote a retrospective diary at least twice a week had a 22% higher life satisfaction index than the group who did not have the habit of writing. The reason is that rewriting memories helps them name their emotions, understand the past better, and look at the present with deep gratitude. An old man I used to know in Seattle said something that has always stuck with me. Every time I write about the past years, I no longer feel so regretful. I feel grateful for having lived. And when you start looking at life with a grateful mind, everything naturally becomes easier to breathe. Small things like the morning sunshine, the laughter of children also become meaningful gifts that this life brings. Now imagine, one morning, in a familiar corner of the yard, you sit down next to a diary. You open it and write a few lines. I am alive. I am breathing. Today is a beautiful sunny day. Do you feel your heart calm down? That is the spiritual power of the habit of writing, not noisy, not ostentatious, but persistent and full of healing. Are you maintaining the habit of writing something every day? Please share with me in the comments section. I believe that when you start telling your story, you are also healing yourself and can inspire many others. There is a truth that many of us at this age often avoid, even though it directly affects each person's life. That is repetition, emptiness, and the feeling of losing role. I call it the silence after 65. When no one needs you every morning, there is no work waiting for you outside the door, there is no more sound of children running around the house. Those moments of silence, if not filled with something meaningful, will easily turn into a feeling of being left behind, or worse, a feeling of losing self-worth. But you know what? Writing a diary, simple, private, and independent of anyone, is the easiest way for you to restore your own inner value. And the third point I want to talk about is, writing a diary helps you reshape yourself and stay connected to the meaning of life. Have you ever sat there and asked yourself, who am I now? I am no longer the mother, the father who has to take the children to school every morning. I am no longer the employee who needs to meet a quota. I am no longer the person the neighbors need to call when their car breaks down. So who am I now? Journaling is a space for you to rediscover yourself again, but this time not for anyone but for who you really are. And you have the right to redefine yourself anytime you want. A man in Texas that I spoke to through a community program shared, after retiring, I felt like I was adrift. I didn't know what to do with each long day. My wife was busy taking care of the children, some of my friends had died, some were sick. That day I happened to read an article about self-discovery journaling. I tried it. I asked myself questions every day. Today I wrote, what else do I like besides watching TV? The next day I wrote, what is there in me that I have not discovered? After a month, I discovered that I like to draw, something I had given up on since I was 15. You see, writing is not just about remembering, but also about finding. No one knows you better than you. And sometimes, all you need is a pen to open the door to your inner self that you thought had been closed for many years. It's simple, just write. Today I will do something that makes me feel meaningful. Just one line. but it opens up a whole journey of thinking. Here, I want to share a practical, simple tool that you can apply right away to start a writing habit, which is writing in the 5-line model. An extremely easy to remember model, no need for prose, and only takes about 10 minutes a day. You can use paper or a small notebook to practice. 1. I feel. Write down the current emotion, e.g. sad, relaxed, in a daze. 2. Today I am grateful for. Just one small thing, e.g. a good breakfast, a call from an old friend. 3. I am thinking about. Share a thought that stands out in your mind at the moment. 4. One thing I have learned from life is. Recall a lesson, whether it was 20 years ago or yesterday. 5. I want to tell myself. A gentle reminder to myself, it can be as simple as everything will be okay. This 5-line writing habit, when maintained regularly, will help you create a mental archive where you can go back and see your spiritual journey change, day by day. You will be surprised when you read an old page and realize, oh, how strong I used to be. A 74-year-old woman in California, after trying this format for 3 weeks, sent me an excerpt from her diary. Today I feel peaceful. I am grateful that I still have eyes to see the color of the sky. I am thinking about my husband's youth and laughter. I learned that love is not about holding on, but about remembering with the heart. I want to tell myself, honey, you have lived well today. I read that, my heart stopped for a few seconds. And I thought, if every senior has a place to confide like that, then this life, even though quiet, will never be lonely. An interesting thing is that researchers at Harvard University discovered that seniors who have the habit of regularly writing about personal emotions, especially positive emotions such as gratitude and hope, have lower cortisol levels. Cortisol, as you know, is a stress hormone. This reduction in concentration means improved sleep, reduced risk of high blood pressure, and even improved memory. This explains why many people sleep better after writing in a diary every night, because they put down their mental burden before falling asleep. I want you to imagine this. At the end of the day, you sit in front of a blank page. No noise, no rush. Just you and a little yellow light. You write a few short lines about the little things that happened, and right then, you know, today has not passed in vain. Writing is a way for you to acknowledge your own value. I know, some people will say, but I am a terrible writer. You don't have to write well. You don't have to write with perfect grammar or beautiful handwriting. This is not literature. This is the breath of your soul, put on paper. And every sentence you write, no matter how short or awkward, has value, because it is true. There are days when you don't feel like writing. That's okay. Just one line, I don't feel like writing today. I'm tired. That's enough. Journaling doesn't require you to be perfect. It just requires you to be present. Here, ask yourself. If you start writing every day, just 5 lines, for 10 minutes, what will you have in a year? You will have a notebook containing your inner journey. A living proof that you have lived, felt, loved, missed, and are still growing, no matter what age you are. Do you feel that it is worth it? If you have ever kept a journal, or are trying this habit, tell me in the comments below. What did you write first? How did you feel after writing? I would love to know your story, because I believe that every line you write has a power that others can learn and feel. So you and I have gone through the most profound things that journaling can do, from soothing loneliness, to reviving vivid memories, to rediscovering yourself and reconnecting with the meaning of life. But wait, there is one last thing, which I believe is the most powerful, but often the most overlooked. And that is, journaling heals. I am talking about healing not just on an emotional level, but also on a mental, spiritual, and sometimes physical level. don't think this is too big. Healing, in our case, can be as simple as you no longer feel pain when remembering a sad event. Or you can look back on a past event with a calm eye instead of a heavy heart. Did you know that a famous study by psychologist James Pennebaker found that writing down your traumatic experiences honestly for 15 to 20 minutes a day for 3 to 4 consecutive days can help reduce symptoms of depression, boost your immune system, and improve your sleep? These results are not theoretical, but real, measured by biological indicators. I once advised a man who had lost his wife after 40 years of marriage, and he said, "I can't talk about her to anyone without crying." Then write. Write to her. And he wrote a letter every night for 2 months. Not to anyone. Just in front of a photo. The day he told me that, he smiled and said, "Now I still remember, but it doesn't hurt." I talked to her through the pages. And I feel like I'm still living with her in a different way. You see, there are sorrows that don't need to be forgotten, we just need to learn to embrace them. Writing is a way to help us do that. Writing is a form of talking to ourselves without being interrupted or judged. A doctor once asked me, "But if I write down negative things, anger, disappointment, am I making myself worse?" The answer is completely the opposite. The more you suppress and stay silent, those emotions grow out of control, like a wound that has not been treated for a long time. When you write, you allow it to flow out of your mind, and then begin the healing process. Here's a small example. If you've ever had an argument with a loved one, and then you write about it, you write in a calm, honest tone, even from the other person's perspective. You will realize that you understand everything, are less angry, and the most precious thing is that after all this, you understand yourself better. Writing a diary is not just to say what's right, but also to understand what's true. And the truth is always the key for you to let go, forgive, and move on. You can write even if it's just for yourself to read. You don't need to share it with anyone. But write, because when you write, you are telling yourself, my story deserves to be heard. And yes, it deserves to be heard. We live in a society that often emphasizes material achievements, status, work. But at some point, when all of that has passed, what remains is your memories and your life story. Imagine if you left your children and grandchildren a diary, not so they can learn to live like you, but so they can understand that their grandparents also loved, made mistakes, were sad, and were strong enough to overcome them. The next generation needs real stories, not just beautiful pictures on the internet. And you have them. Every line of your diary you write today can be a light to guide someone in the future. Don't underestimate the value of a handwritten line. I remember once reading the diary of an 88-year-old woman. She wrote unevenly, her handwriting was shaky, but each line was a song of life. There was a passage she wrote. "Today I sat in the morning sun, a sparrow pecked at the breadcrumbs I left in my hand. I'm no longer young, but my heart still retains the gentleness of my 20s. I used to think that writing a diary was something young people did. But now I know, it's how I keep myself from disappearing from this world." I read it and cried. Because I know how many elderly people are feelings fading away, no longer noticed, no longer listened to. But through the pages of writing, you will see yourself clearer, more present, and more real than ever. Writing is not an act to become famous. And sometimes, it is the most courageous act you can do. So, dear friend, if you are wondering, is it too late for me to start writing today? And the answer, it is never too late to listen to yourself. You are alive, which means you still have a story to tell. And if you are afraid of writing, start by talking to yourself on paper. It doesn't have to be good. It doesn't have to be long. It just has to be real. You can start with a line like this. "I don't know what to write, but I am writing because I need to hear my voice again." And then, you continue writing. You will see, once the first line appears, the following lines will find their way. Finally, I want you to remember, although age takes away many things from you, work, appearance, health, one thing it can never take away is the right to express yourself. And writing is the way you exercise that right silently but powerfully. Please share your feelings after your first writing, whether it was happy or sad. I will read every line because I believe your story is also worth listening to. And if you find this video useful, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so we can meet more often on topics that are close, meaningful, and inspiring like this. I wish you a happy, deep and true life at every age. Goodbye and see you in the next video.